Jon Moxley's return match has been announced, and it's not where you think it might be. A new ECW champion has been crowned 21 years after the company folded, and an ex-WWE star is returning to wrestling. Find out who in a bit. So, the first return we're going to be talking about here is a man who we are desperate to see once again, a man who we desperately hope is doing incredibly well. It appears that he is indeed doing well, because his announce has been returned January 23rd. You're not going to have to wait for long. Jon Moxley is coming back, not to AEW.
No,
which is something's
thing.
gone wrong here. Make up your own minds on this, but something's not quite right. So it has been announced that he's going to be defending his GCW championship, because he's still GCW champion. They kept him as champion until he was good to return. He's going to be taking on Homicide at the Hammerstein Ballroom on January 23rd. But no announcement has been made for an AEW return yet. So to me, this is like either they've jumped the gun, they weren't meant to be announcing this yet, they've done so on Twitter. Or we're going to see Jon Moxley pop up in AEW as a surprise in the next week or so, 2 weeks maybe.
I think it might be the latter.
Soon, this week.
Well, yeah, I think it might be the latter. I think we're going to maybe see Moxley appear as a surprise, or it could just simply be a case of maybe Tony's gone, well, right now we just need to clear this little bit of story and do that, and then we'll bring you back on this date. But the fact that, he's GCW champion, he has the obligation as champion to treat that company, he's the champion, so I think that it makes sense he might return to GCW, but it is quite surprising. I think that, all of us were expecting him to pop back up in AEW first, simply because, bigger company, TV deal, but this feels like a very Jon Moxley move to come back and go straight to GCW and just start absolutely killing it again. And against Homicide, it's going to be mental. And they're promoting this as by the way, the biggest wrestling crowd to ever see a wrestling show in the Hammerstein Ballroom, which is saying something, because that's the venue that held the, many ECW shows, but specifically, famously One Night Stand 05 and 06. So I don't know if they're cramming more seats in. I don't know how they're doing it. They've made the ring
smaller. It's like a 4 foot by 4 foot ring.
It's a paddling pool on some boxes. But
to me, this is maybe he's going to just drop the title and then go away and continue with rehab and everything, or maybe we'll see him. But if I was Tony Khan, I'd want him coming back to my company first, and Tony Khan has that right contractually to do that. So I think this is a bit of a shocker. Maybe this is just him dropping the title because he needs a bit more time away, and that's fair enough.
Possibly,
that's a cool thing to be coming back and doing.
I think there's got to be some sort of plan. There just has to be. You know how AEW are with other companies. They'll have spoken to him. They'll have worked it out.
Tune in to this week's bloody Dynamite, because we might see Moxley pop up. Maybe.
Possibly.
Who knows? Moving on, you've just been talking about ECW. A new ECW TV champion has been crowned 21 years after the company folded. This is bonkers.
Yes.
And obviously, who else would have won it? It's Matt Cardona, right?
Yeah.
Facing Rhino at GCW's Most Notorious.
Yeah.
He got heaps of heat from the crowd, saying that Rhino isn't the final ECW TV champion. I mean, he was, and he said, no, Ezekiel Jackson is. So he got his belts mixed up.
In a way, he's kind of right, because the WWE ECW title must have been defended on TV more than it was on pay-per-view by the end.
Come on. Do not side with Matt Cardona, for goodness sake.
I forgot you're a mojo man.
Yeah, exactly. Hype, bro. He used the original ECW championship as a weapon during the match. Yeah. He hit Rhino with it, with a low blow, and then picked up the victory and declared himself the new ECW TV champion. Yeah. Right. Let's analyze this, shall we? First of all, the Wikipedia, the free encyclopedia that everybody can edit.
Which, that makes it the most, trustable source of knowledge.
They've updated it to say that Cardona is the current champion and the belt's been unretired. But it's not real, is it?
It's obviously not the authentic ECW TV title. If it is, Rhino keeps his belts in incredible condition. That's all I'll say. But yeah, he pulled out the belt and he's declared himself champion. I just think it's funny. I think he's doing so good with the GCW crowd. like just the level of heat, man. I think it's potentially, this could just be something that we see keep going and going and going, and there's no stop to it. But I like that he just got such a nuclear amount of heat for just mentioning Ezekiel Jackson.
A lot of love for Big Zeke here.
Yeah.
Cultaholic, by the way. He's had a real career renaissance. What's interesting about this is I feel like this is probably WWE's intellectual property.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
They obviously they own ECW, the
100%,
name,
yeah.
and like they're using the belt and everything. That'll all be WWE stuff.
It'll persist
right?
until you know the slap comes down from above. But I think it's funny, and just get away with it while you can.
Yeah, bollocks to it. They treated him like crap. Just have a laugh.
They've got to send you a cease and
sued.
desist, so have a laugh for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, they'll get
It's going to
cease
take
and
them at
desist.
least a week to draw the papers up.
Exactly. Vince is busy firing people at the moment. So. Moving on once again, back to WWE now. It was reported earlier this week that Corey Graves had been cleared. So he had been moved from the no-touch list, essentially, at WWE. To being somebody who is essentially they were pitching storylines and all sorts of stuff for him. But an update from the Wrestling Observer here saying that obviously while he can return to wrestle, he's not going to. But that's why they were able to do the 24/7 angle with him as champion a few weeks ago rather. Whenever it was, because guys on non-contact aren't even allowed to be touched.
Yeah, so part of me thinks that they wouldn't have made such a thing about it if they weren't going to maybe do something down the line. But at the same time, I just don't know, like with the Corey Graves situation, because
he's more valuable as a commentator. I don't buy it. He might be in the Rumble. Maybe he'll do a Rumble spot.
This is what I mean is I don't think there's going to be any, long-form feuds or a full-time return to the ring. But I feel like there's going to be something where, this is built to maybe a single match or something is built to for a few weeks before a pay-per-view. It'll be interesting to see, but I think you are right. I think Corey Graves has adapted to the role of an announcer so well, and it's often very hard for WWE to find these people in-house to, who have the knowledge of wrestling in order to be able to then convert them into a successful commentator, because we've seen it for years. You kind of get people who have a really rough go of it and they don't last or they don't want to do it anymore. But Graves has stuck it out, and I think he is worth more money.
Yeah, he's in his element at commentary. Yeah. I think the person who wants to see Corey Graves wrestle the most is probably Corey Graves.
Yeah.
But it would be a nice moment after everything that he's gone through health-wise to see him do something like a Rumble appearance, like to go in and eliminate one
featured
person.
Spot.
Yeah, just something nice like that would be really cool.
Get his stay down in.
I want to see him behind the commentary desk moving forward, because he is so excellent at it. We're moving on now over to Impact with a few assorted Impact notes here. First of all, Trey Miguel suffering a broken right tooth. Tooth. And will be off his weekend dates. Notably, Sami Callihan's Pro Wrestling Revolver show. Rosemary also off the show due to injuries. And Brandy Lauren has left the promotion, doing an angle that wrote her off the show, of course. Kimberly was also written off, but apparently she's still under contract. And the most exciting bit of these assorted Impact notes is that PCO has apparently signed a deal with Impact Wrestling.
I'm all for it. Me
too.
PCO
I think that's the perfect promotion for him, following the Ring of Honor stuff.
Yeah, and I think when we had the broken universe going on in Impact, I think PCO would have been... He just fits that weird mold that I think Impact always are able to run with, strangely. Like, Impact are always able to...
strong character.
Yeah, to do, like, just weird stuff so long as the character's strong enough to get away with it. So I'm all for seeing PCO doing more mental things. I hope they keep up all of his crazy promo work, and I hope he's just safe. I don't want to see any more risky landings, PCO. That's the only thing I don't want to see.
I do. I like seeing 70-year-olds.
I like him doing crazy stuff, but
yeah, no, it is scary. The bumps that he was taking are bonkers. And he's a guy in his 50s, isn't he?
I know, it's wild.
Incredible stuff. We are finishing the video off with a former WWE star coming out of retirement. He was my go-to on, I think, SmackDown versus Raw 2007. He's somebody who I had no idea who it was when I was coming back into wrestling in around 2007. It's none other than Big Mark Jindrak. He is returning for a Robles promotion show in Laredo, Texas. He's actually had a very successful post-WWE run, right?
Yeah, you could say that his career didn't really get off the ground until he made it to Mexico, because in Mexico he went under the name of Marco Corleone after leaving WWE, obviously following his WCW run. But he's worked from 2006 to 2018 fairly consistently in Mexico. He's worked for both AAA and CMLL. He's a one-time CMLL World Champion, one-time CMLL Trios Champion. He won the Copa CML in 2014.
He's paying us to say this stuff, by the way.
He's won other assorted tournaments within the company. He's worked for a couple of other smaller independent lucha outfits. He's just become this bit of a sensation down there for quite some time, to the point where he was working on soap operas. He won Mexico's Best Body in 2012, apparently, and he's written a children's book about like dealing with bullies and stuff. Like he's married to a fashion designer. Cool. And everything.
Oh,
like,
taking the
he's
piss
just
for
living the best life.
Yeah, so he's not wrestled since 2018, so a few years away for Jindrak. You know what? It totally slipped my mind that he was even in ECW and WCW. Yeah, and I was watching at the time. Of course he was.
Yeah, was it like a two-time tag champ, I think, or a one-time tag champ with O'Haire?
With O'Haire,
and then when they started the whatever the Natural Born Thrillers. And then when he got to WWE, it's like great luck, but they never really did much with him. So it was nice to read up that his career just went mental when he went to Mexico.
Good for him. Good luck. The Robles promotion show, and that's your lot for today.
Yeah.
We've got a list coming up this evening. We got a new episode of War Stories on the channel tomorrow, so keep an eye out for that. We got a True Story of featuring some lovely. So something that I didn't even know had happened. I'm showing my ignorance over these two videos.
What's this?
The WWE running Raw and SmackDown in Japan.
Ooh.
Really interesting stuff.
I've seen pictures from what looked like a Raw, but I always thought it must have been a house show, but it must have been that.
No, they did.
Interesting.
They did Raw and SmackDown. So anyway, stay tuned this weekend. Take care of yourselves.
Yeah.
Love and light. Goodbye.